Lesson 6, Factors and Divisibility. In this lesson, you'll need a glue stick again, because we're going to glue in tests for divisibility at the end. So we're going to start with factors. Factors are whole numbers that divide evenly into another number without a remainder. So for example, the factors of 24 are 1, and I put my 24 out here to show 1 times 24 is 24. 2 times 12. 3 goes into 24 8 times. And 4 times 6. So the factors of 24 are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, 24. Here's another example and another way to do it. So I write it this way: 1, 24, 2, 12, 3, 8, 4, 6. Let's say we wanted to find the factors of 32. You can just write them side by side. So 1 times 32 is 32. 2 times 16 is 32. 3 doesn't go into 32, but 4 does. 4 times 8. And 5, 6, and 7 doesn't go into it. So you can also list them this way. It helps so you don't forget any, that if you listed the 2, you don't forget that the 16 goes with that one. The greatest common factor, sometimes we call it the GCF. That's just the largest common factor of 2 or more numbers. Okay, so here's an example where we need to find it. Find the greatest common factor of 24 and 60. So if we write all the factors of both of those, we can find the greatest. There's another way to find the greatest common factor. If we do the factor tree, that's where you list the numbers 24 and 60. And we do a little tree. We think, what two numbers multiply together to get 24? Well, I know 6 and 4 get 24. Now 6 has 2 and 3, and those are prime, so I circle them. And 4 has 2 and 2. So if I were to do 2 times 3 times 2 times 2, I would get 24. For 60, two numbers would be 6 and 10. You could also do 30 and 2 or 15 and 4. It doesn't matter, I chose 6 and 10. 6 is 3 and 2. Those are prime, so I circle them. 10 is 5 and 2. So we pick the ones, the factors that they have in common. So here's a 2, these 2, so there's a 2. Here's a 3, they each have a 3. Here's another 2. Now they both don't have a 5, so we'll just leave it like this. We multiply those together. 2 times 3 is 6, times 2 is 12. So the greatest common factor of 24 and 60 is 12. So we're going to write out the steps that we use to find the greatest common factor. Step number 1, you list in order the factors of the smallest number. Number 2, start with the greatest factor. So start with the greatest factor of that smallest number and cross off any factors that do not divide evenly into the other number, the bigger number. So here's an example. Find the greatest common factor of 32 and 44. Well, you take the smallest number, 32, and we're going to list the factors of it. We did it earlier. 1 and 32, 2 and 16, 4 and 8. Start with the biggest number. Start with the greatest factor, 32. Does 32 go into 44 evenly? Well, no. So we cross it off. 16, does it go into 44? No. 8? No. Does 4 go into 44? Yes. So that is the greatest common factor of 32 and 44 is or equals 4. Now, we're going to glue into your notebook tests for divisibility. And you do need to know these tests for divisibility. A number is divisible by 2 if the last digit's even. It's divisible by 4 if the last 2 digits can divide it by 4. It's divisible by 5 if it ends in a 0 and 5. All those little tests for divisibility. Here's some example of testing. So here's an example, 51. What numbers divide evenly into 51? Well, if I did 5 plus 1, just add the 2 digits together, I get 6. Since 3 can go into 6 evenly, 3 is a factor of 51. So if you notice the divisibility for 3 is if the sum of the digits, here's the digits, 5 and 1, can be divided by 3. So the sum of the digits is 6. It can be divided by 3, so 3 is a factor of 51. That's just one test for divisibility for 3. Here's an example. Find all of the factors of the number 3,456. And we want single digit factors. So find all single digit factors. So we'll start with 1. 1 goes into every number, so we'll list 1. 2 goes into this number because the last number is even. 3 we have to add. 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6. Let's see, that's 7 plus 5 is 12 plus 6 is 18. 3 goes into 18, so 3 goes into that number. 4, does 4 go into 56? Well, if 4 goes into 56, then 4 will go into that number. Yes, it does. So 4 is also a factor. 5 is not a factor because it doesn't end in 5 or 0. 6 is a factor because the divisibility test says if 2 and 3 are factors, then 6 is a factor. 7, we don't have a divisibility test for 7, so we have to divide and see if 7 goes into the number. So let's see, that's 4, 28, 65, 9, 63, 26. Nope, 7 does not go into it, so 7's not a factor. 8 will be a factor if it goes into the last 3 digits because that's the divisibility test for 8. So 8 times 6 is 48, so that must be 40, 50. Yep, 8 goes into it because 8 goes into the last 3 numbers. 9, you have to take the sum of the digits, which we already did. If 9 goes into that number, then 9 goes into the big number. So 10 is now a double digit, so those are all the single digit factors. Here's another one, tests for divisibility that we want to practice. Another example, 924. List all the single digit factors. So 1 goes into it, 2 is even, 3 we have to add, 9 plus 2 is 11, plus 4 is 15, yes, 3 goes into it. 4, because it goes into 24, yes. 5 doesn't, 6 does because both 2 and 3. 7, there's no test. So we have to do 7 into 924. Yes, it does. 7, there's no test. So you have to try it out. And then 8, does 8 go into the 3 digits? 924, so we divide by 8. 8 goes into, wait, did I do that right? Let's see, 9, 1, 8, 1, bring down the 2. 8 goes into 12 ones, 4 left over, 44. Nope, doesn't go in. And then 9, when I added, I got 15. 9 doesn't go to 15, so 9 doesn't go into that. So that's how we test for divisibility, as we follow that chart. And then here at the bottom, you just glue in the test for divisibility chart. If you don't have it, ask your teacher. She should have a copy for you. Okay, that's the end of lesson 6.